The solemn entry of the Custos of the Holy Land, Father Francesco Patton, was joyfully followed by the people of Bethlehem, who celebrated the feast of the patron saint, St. Catherine of Alexandria. A wave of fires hit several towns of the Holy Land last week. The most serious ones forced the evacuation of at least 60,000 citizens in Haifa. They represent at least 20% of the local population. They have been living in the city or in rural areas for years, the life of Syrian refugees in Jordan and the hospitality of the Caritas centers. Between late November and early December, the first edition of the Italian cuisine in the world took place in 105 countries. The children of Haifa responded to the call. On the Saturday preceding the first Sunday of Advent, the city of Bethlehem celebrated and welcomed the Custos of the Holy Land, Father Francesco Patton. Father Patton arrived from Jerusalem, passing by the Patriarch Street, and walked past the monument dedicated to the tomb of Rachel, the biblical figure, gestures that go back to an old tradition of the religious leaders. On his arrival at Manger Square, Father Francesco Patton was received by the civil authorities of the city. Other Franciscans and the people's affection accompanied Father Patton on his way to the Basilica of the Nativity.
We are very happy to welcome the new Custos of the Holy Land in Bethlehem, because today we begin the Advent season. I hope this is a time of peace.
At the door of humility, the Custos of the Holy Land was welcomed by the leaders of the Greek Orthodox and Armenian churches, which share custody of the Basilica with the Franciscans. The ceremony of the solemn entry of the Custos to Bethlehem, an event that also officially marks the beginning of Advent, took place in the Church of St. Catherine adjacent to the Basilica of the Nativity.
La parola Advento significa l'arrivo.
The word Advent means arrival, which is an ancient word formerly used for political issues to welcome an emperor or a king with torches and songs. We are preparing for the arrival of the Lord, which will take place in Christmas.
Era l'arrivo, noi stiamo ricordando l'arrivo del Signore. L'arrivo del Signore che verrà a Natale.
Saturday afternoon, the Franciscans recited the Vespers and went in procession to the grotto of the Nativity of the Child Jesus. Signs of adoration were made before the star of the cave. In the grotto of the manger there was another moment of silence. The first Advent candle was lit in this place, from which a light once shone for the world.
In
the journey of Advent, we are constantly called to watch and pray. Why do we watch and pray? Because we are waiting to meet Him. We are waiting for Him who the Word of God calls Prince of Peace, Jesus. Therefore, there must be a desire to meet Him. There must be invocation and especially a commitment to peace. During the first Sunday of Advent, the Church of St. Catherine was filled with the faithful and religious to celebrate the beginning of the liturgical year and to commemorate St. Catherine of Alexandria, to which the parish is dedicated.
Santa Caterina è una martire.
Santa Caterina is a martyr, and as a martyr she reminds us that she loved Jesus even more than her own life. So I believe that is a very important message for us today. Every church has its patron saint to protect his faithful and at the same time to encourage them on the path of holiness. The patron protector of the parish of Bethlehem is St. Catherine. The celebration of the Advent time here is very important because we are preparing for the coming of Jesus, especially here where He was born.
إنه تتحد مع يسوع المسيح وتسعى وتصير أقرب إلى القداسة.
During Mass, a special moment was dedicated to couples celebrating their silver and gold wedding anniversaries.
أكيد هي يعني مناسبة كتير حلوة إنه نحن
This is a chance to celebrate three different events: the beginning of Advent, the Feast of St. Catherine, and our 25 years of marriage. My wife and I are very happy.
ثلاث مناسبات في مناسبة واحدة كتير سعيد يعني أنا
The opening of the Advent indicates that the focus of the Church in the Holy Land is aimed at Bethlehem, in the growing anticipation of the arrival of the child.
في المجيء الأول لازم نتحضر.
On this first Sunday of Advent, we must prepare our hearts through prayer, asking God to bring us peace. We must live by faith. We must not only prepare what is part of the tradition, like the trees, our clothing and food, we must prepare our hearts.
متدينين متبعين العادات والتقاليد.
Last week, several fires hit the Holy Land. It is estimated that more than 1,100 hectares of forest burned in about 630 different locations. More severe episodes occurred in Haifa, where at least 60,000 people were forced to leave their homes.
I was driving my car and suddenly I saw all the fire and all the smoke. I went straight to my house, and around 15-20 minutes after, I heard in the newspaper, in the media, that they told us to evacuate our houses. So we took few things from our house, and I went to take my child from school. We went to a safer place, and waiting there and hearing the news, just walking to see all the smoke. Unfortunately, in the TV we saw yesterday that our street was many houses were burned with the fire. We feel very bad. I was born in this neighborhood, I live here, and to see everything like this, it's unbelievable.
The causes of the fire have not yet been identified by police. The dry climate and strong winds have favored the spread of flames and hampered the work of the firefighters, but certainly it is a disaster that challenges the whole society.
This unprecedented fire caused a tremendous damage in the city. In very broad distances, the burning destroyed forests, destroyed public areas, and hit 3,000 flats. We had to evacuate the people. Hopefully, with the assistance of the government, we shall find replacements to the people, and we shall assist them, and we shall try to rebuild the flats which were destroyed.
The outbreaks have mainly hit areas inhabited by the Jewish Israeli population, but the disaster has inspired solidarity from other communities.
I see here firefighters from Gaza, I think. I don't know, from the Palestinian Authority. I saw firefighters from Cyprus, from Greece, I don't know, from all over the world. And I would like to say that we are family, all worldwide family.
وهذا الحدث مؤلم وخطر على الجميع.
This event was painful and dangerous for all, regardless of ethnicity. The Assembly of the Ordinary took a position on these events first and foremost, having at the heart the safety of persons, praying for the fire to cease as quickly as possible, and stretching out their arms to help the victims. Following this example, many other churches and organizations made their homes available. Also, several Christians and people of other faiths supported this position and willingly welcomed fire victims.
بالإعلان إنه هن مستعدين لاستضافة الناس اللي بيوتها تضررت من الحريق.
Government support and solidarity shown by many are inspiring when looking at the future beyond the rubble and the sad smell of ashes.
We have a lot of support from the city of Haifa, from the government, and the people are helping us. Everybody's calling, how are you doing? How do you feel, if you need some help? And I hope that next interview you come to Israel and you see much better and nicer places.
I come from Homs. We stayed 2 months and 10 days at the border between Syria and Jordan before we could come here. We suffered a lot. Our life in Homs was very difficult and dangerous, especially with the unceasing night attacks.
Fatme has been living in Amman, Jordan for 4 years now, since she had to flee from the Syrian city formerly called the capital of the revolution, scene of one of the worst massacres of the conflict. Like Fatme, 90% of the refugees, according to estimates by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, no longer live in a refugee camp but in urban or rural areas. Some of them receive the hospitality of friends or relatives, and others are forced to share a room with other families, often at exorbitant prices and under decrepit hygienic and structural conditions.
The situation is tragic. The rent of the house is about 300 dinars. My father constantly needs medicine and I have 12 children. He suffers all night and all the neighbors hear him screaming. It is very difficult. The vouchers are sufficient only for 10 days and then the food is over. What can we do?
The story of Fatme is the story of millions of Syrians. The United Nations data updated in November 7, 2016 show an exodus of more than 4,800,000 people since the conflict. At least 650,000 are officially registered in Jordan, although according to unofficial estimates, there are 1.25 million refugees in Jordan, 20% of the local population. Caritas is among the organizations involved to support them, present in Amman with 8 schools and 15 centers devoted to the refugees.
We provide the Syrian refugees with various types of assistance: food vouchers, fresh food, clothes and shoes, as well as house maintenance, money or goods for the winter, and especially help in the education field so that the children can go to school.
The center welcomes between 70 and 100 refugees every day and offers them different types of help. Also, 3 years ago, it opened an office exclusively dedicated to medical care. Ibtisam is one of the beneficiaries of this service. Mother of 6 children, she escaped 3 years ago from the countryside of Aleppo, one of the most devastated cities by the war, whose population halved as the conflict intensified.
I gave birth to my daughter on the 8th month of pregnancy. Then she caught pneumonia, lost consciousness, and was on a respirator for a month. She continues to suffer from lack of oxygen and seizures. Caritas helps me with the medicines. This is why I came here.
We see the 3 nationalities. We see Iraqi, Syrian and Jordanian, only medical. I'm telling you, it's medical. Actually, we have special doctors. We have 2 GP and 1 dentist. We have also appointment. We have almost 100 appointments daily. Then we refer them here to Caritas clinics. Our doctor, they see them. If it's serious case, we refer them to the Italian hospital. It's very close from here.
A little over a year ago, the Syrian refugees were denied free access to medical care by the government, making the center even more valuable.
We live and endure with the hope that one day we will return home to our parents, brothers and families. They still live there because they are unable to escape. I hope to be able to go back and find them.
Tell me what you eat and I'll tell you what you are. The last week of November, in 105 regions scattered in all continents with over 1,300 events, the answer was the same: Italian food.
Quest'anno il Ministero degli Esteri ha lanciato.
This year, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has launched the first edition of the Italian Cuisine Week in the world. The different embassies, the consular network, and the network of Italian cultural institutes organized events as part of the Italian Cooking Project from November 21 through 27.
Nell'ambito della cucina italiana.
Among the various events that took place in Israel-Palestine, the Italian Cultural Institute in Haifa, Office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, founded in 1962, developed a special mixture in the creativity and animation workshops that have been working on this project for the last 3 years. The protagonists, children aged 3 to 12, have ventured into the preparation of homemade noodles.
Generalmente il laboratorio inizia sempre con un riscaldamento.
Generally, the workshop begins with a warm-up. We introduce ourselves, we sing songs that are already known by the children, and then we jump right in the workshop. Today the theme is Italian cuisine, and the title of the workshop is Pasta, Capricci e Pasticci, which means whims and mass pasta.
Il laboratorio è pasta, capricci e pasticci.
The children of Italian expatriates are not the only ones who meet among rolling pins, flour, and eggs. There are also children born to mixed marriages or to parents who have lived in Italy, as well as the ones who studied the language and want their children to practice it or learn it.
Siamo israeliani entrambi, anche mia moglie. Abbiamo iniziato di studiare qui in questo istituto all'italiano.
My wife and I are from Israel. We began learning Italian in this institute and we passed the entrance exam. Later I attended the University of Bologna. Our first child was born in Bologna and we returned to Israel when he was about 1 year old.
Un anno circa siamo tornati in Israele.
واليوم أجيت.
I came here today because of the children's activities. I have a 4-year-old daughter and I like to bring her to these events where there are Italians who speak Italian so she can listen to the language and gradually learn it.
The events in Israel and Palestine to promote and defend the Made in Italy food is scheduled for the first week of December with lectures, tastings, and workshops with renowned chefs. There is only one thing left to do.
The mission of the Christian Media Center is to bring the message of the Holy Land, the land of the fifth gospel, to the world. Broadcasts, reports, news, documentaries, the latest happenings in the church and of the daily life of Christians in the Holy Land. You can help us in this mission, raising awareness and spreading the message of the Holy Land. Help us. Visit our website,